In the world of investing, Warren Buffett's timeless wisdom shines through as he shares his approach to evaluating opportunities. He emphasizes the fundamental principle that investing is about laying out cash today to reap more cash in the future. In this insightful discussion, Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger demystify the complexities of financial modeling and highlight the importance of simplicity in decision-making.
My question is free cash flow. Sell-side analysts like to do a 10-year discounted cash flow analysis with the terminal value. Even some of the books written about your style, the Warren Buffett way, Buffettology, imply that you go through that exercise. But I know you're famous for not using computers or calculators. I'm wondering if those type of exercises fall into the too hard file, and you just do a simple free cash flow, normalized free cash flow over a discount rate.
Well, the answer is that all investing is laying out cash now to get more cash back at a later date. Now, the question is, how much do you get back? How sure are you of getting it? When do you get it? It goes back to Aesop's fables, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. Now, that was said by Aesop in 600 BC now, and he was a very smart man. He didn't know it was 600 BC, but, he couldn't know everything. But that's what's being taught in the finance. You get a PhD now, and you do it more complicated, and you don't say a bird in the hand's worth two in the bush, because you can't really impress the laity with that sort of thing. But the real question is, how many birds are in the bush? You're laying out a bird today, the dollar. And then how many birds are in the bush? How sure are you in the bush? How many birds are in other bushes? What's the discount rate? In other words, if interest rates are 20%, you got to get those two birds faster than if interest rates are 5%, and so on. That's what we do. We are looking at putting out cash now to get back more cash later on. You mentioned that I don't use a computer or calculator. If you need to use a computer or calculator to make the calculation, you shouldn't buy it. It should be so obvious that you don't have to carry it out to tenths of a percent or hundredths of a percent. It should scream at you. So if you really need a calculator to figure out that the discount rate is 9.6% instead of 9.8%, forget about the whole exercise. Just go on to something that shouts at you. And essentially we look at every business that way. But you're right, we do not sit down with spreadsheets and do all that sort of thing. We just see something that obviously is better than anything else around that we understand. And then we act. Charlie, you want to add to that?
Warren Buffett emphasizes the importance of simplicity in his investment approach. He believes that all investing boils down to laying out cash now to get more cash back later. The key considerations are how much you'll get back, how sure you are of getting it, and when you'll get it. Buffett highlights the significance of the discount rate, which depends on interest rates. He doesn't rely on computers or calculators for complex calculations, but prefers investments where the potential returns are so obvious that precise calculations aren't necessary. In essence, Buffett's approach prioritizes straightforward free cash flow analysis over complex modeling.
Well, I'd go further. I'd say some of the worst business decisions I've ever seen are those that have done with a lot of formal projections and discounts back. Shell Oil Company did that when they bought the Belridge Oil Company, and they had all these engineers make all these elaborate figures. And the trouble with that is you get to believe the figures. And it seems that the higher mathematics with more false precision should help you, but it doesn't. The effects averaged out are negative when you try and formalize it to the degree you're talking about it. They do that in business schools because, well, they've got to do something.
There's a lot of truth to that. If you stand up in front of a class and you say a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush, you're not going to get tenure. So it's very important, if you're in the priesthood, to look at least like you know a whole lot more than the people you're preaching to. And if you come down and if you're a priest and you just hand down the 10 Commandments and you say this is it, and we'll all go home, it just isn't the way to progress in the world. So the false precision that goes into saying this is a 2 standard deviation event or this is a 3 standard deviation event and therefore we can afford to take this much risk and all that, it's totally crazy. You saw it with long-term capital management in 1998. You've seen it time and time and time again. And it only happens to people with high IQs. Those of you who have 120 IQs are all safe. But if you have a very high IQ and you've learned all this stuff, you feel you have to use it. And the markets are not that way. The markets of mid-September last year, when people who ran huge institutions were wondering how they were going to get funding the next week, that doesn't appear you can't calculate the standard deviation that arises at. It's going to arise much more often than people think in markets that are made by people that get scared and get greedy. And they don't observe the laws of flipping coins in terms of the distribution of results. And it's a terrible mistake to think that mathematics will take you a long place in investing. You have to understand certain aspects of mathematics, but you don't have to understand higher mathematics. And higher mathematics may actually be dangerous, and it will lead you down pathways are better left untrod.
In an era where complex financial models and projections often dominate investment strategies, Warren Buffett's straightforward wisdom serves as a reminder that the key to successful investing lies in understanding the fundamentals and avoiding the pitfalls of overcomplication. The timeless lesson here is that, in the world of finance, sometimes the simplest approach is the wisest.